Hey, so quick update for the group. So these were all of my trades again from the other night. Some of them I got partially stopped out on BNB. Technically, this chart on BNB, for instance, has like a wick that looks like it hit my stop loss. But as everybody in the group knows, when I set my stop loss, especially when I have nice tight stop losses like that, they're usually a little bit lower than what's on the chart, because usually what happens is I buy in right as I spot some upward movement, and then I'll set my stop loss. Then by the time I share the chart with you guys, it's up like 0.2% or something. So I kind of move everything up 0.2% to show you where I would enter right now, you know? So for those who didn't know that, that's why on some of my charts I might say, oh, look, I'm up a lot. And it looks like I got stopped out. It looks like it hit my stop loss by like a penny, but in reality it didn't, because my stop loss is really lower than that. My actual stop loss isn't on the chart. And then sometimes I'll show you guys a chart where it doesn't look like I got stopped out, but I actually did. And I'll say, oh man, I got stopped out of this trade. Even though it's up 20%, it looks like I'm still in the trade. But I obviously let you guys know when I'm stopped out. And then I keep tracking the trade for your benefit, even if I get stopped out, because a lot of you guys are still in it, you know. Anyway, my model has been insane. Like I was just saying on the video I posted in the group, these precision reversals I predicted were insane. All IchEMA dynamic supports, right? So the 99 EMA, insane support. Bounced right off the 99 to the top of the cloud. What happens? You get rejected. Right at the top of the cloud was right as the Sith maxed out. So we have my Sith model and my IchEMA model working in conjunction, in unison. Top of the cloud, IchEMA dynamic resistance. Top of the Sith stoke, the stochastic oscillator, for a bearish reversal at the exact same time. What happens? We get rejected. If I was scalping or day trading this right now, instead of going more for the swing, I would have sold right at the top of the cloud, and it would have been a precision exit, because I would have predicted the top incredibly accurately, because my models are just working in unison on point right now. I'm holding the baby and she's not crying. Let's see how much longer I can do this before she starts losing her shit. All right, so that's BNB. In all of these cases, I'm holding. Some of my trades I took profit, like FIL. I sold a majority of that because I was up like 100%. And that was an amazing precision entry. Like with BNB, I risked, when I first got in this trade, I risked 1.75% roughly. And it broke out for, 10%? Now it's retracing a bit. I'm going to leave this and let it ride. There's a lot of support from the 55 EMA, then the 99 EMA, and the bottom of the cloud. Huge, massive support structures here. My IchEMA dynamic supports. The Stokes moving down quickly. As long as we don't dump too much on this red candle here and we get some support from the 55 EMA here, BNB is going to hold. And I think on the next attempt, she's going to punch through the top of the cloud. Once that happens, she goes back up to $300. All right, XRP has been moving sideways since my entry. Finally starting to break out here. The 4-hour model indicates she's going to have some difficulty getting out of the cloud on the first attempt, but there's a chance. Overall, still bullish. The horizontal supports and the IchEMA dynamics are all really bullish, so I'm gonna let that hold. I think I'm gonna hold this open as is and give her a shot. I think she still has potential. VTHO, awesome breakout again. 20% breakout, perfectly predicted off of that exact precise bottom, off of the trend line support. Now she's retracing, again, exactly as the 4-hour Stoke reversed, but we're getting a much smaller reversal down than we had the move up, right? So the Stoke wave, full wave up, wave back down. The wave up was big, went up, say, 20%, and the wave down goes down 10%. So if you go up 20%, down 10%, up 20%, down 10%, you're going to create a huge uptrend, right? You're going up big. You're going to go like up big, down small, up big, down small, up big, down small. That's what you want. That's a nice uptrend. So the downswing is much smaller than the uptrend, which means, than the upswing, which means it looks like we might be starting the beginning of a strong uptrend here. That's why I think this is a very bullish scenario where I get into all these trades, and we did my most recent trades at a perfect time. It was right at the bottom of a new motive wave. So we're actually going to have multiple bullish days with small corrections along the way. Short of some big news that comes out, it's unlikely we're going to get a big market dump. It's possible, but it's unlikely unless there's some sort of huge news that comes out that scares the market. Now, sushi, this one actually did partially stop me out. So one of my stop losses was almost exactly where I have it on this chart. My other stop loss was a little smaller. That's another trick that I use, as most of you guys know, for those in the group. I usually have more than one stop loss, whether it's a short term and a long term, or sometimes on a short term trade, I'll have one stop loss where I'm risking 1.5%. And then I'm like, well, I don't want to get stopped out of this trade on a quick wick down, but I also don't want to risk 3% on this trade. So what I'll do is I'm going to put half of my position with a stop loss at 1.5% below my entry. And the other half of my position, my stop loss will be at 2.5% below my entry, meaning that my average overall risk is about 2%. But that allows me to potentially make more money and take less risk if it plays out right. And if it doesn't, I'm still in the trade, and that's what happened here. So I'm still in sushi, so I still caught the breakout, and it's riding along the top of the cloud perfectly here. The 55 and the top of the cloud, it's kind of right in support town right now. I'm a little concerned about the Stoke here because we had the top of the cloud so well, and if we don't get back above the top of the cloud, we might get stuck ranging in the cloud, which I really don't want to happen, but I'm leaving this open. We'll see what happens. I'm still in the green for now. BNT, another strong breakout. I was like, 6 for 7 with these trades, something like that. So here's another example where, to the untrained eye, it looks like, oh, look, it looks like, oh, that tiny wick right there stopped Jesse out, right? You can see where that tiny wick looks like it hit my stop loss. That's what I was talking about right there. It didn't really. I didn't get stopped out on this one. I'm still in this one. My original risk was 2% below my entry. Top of the cloud got rejected. Again, just like my model predicts, right? We have the top of the cloud as a strong IchEMA dynamic resistance, just like on the other chart with BNB. Now, in this case, it wicked up above it. That tells me there's actually a really good chance she wants to get aggressive and she wants to push up above that 382 fib retracement, but it just got rejected because there was too much resistance right there. So that resistance at the 382 stopped her and pushed her back down into the cloud. But she really tried to push above the cloud. If it wasn't for that resistance, Bancor would be running right now. So I think we're going to retrace a little bit more as the Stoke comes down, just like the others. I'm going to leave this trade open as well. There's still a ton of support. She's holding at the 55 EMA. The 99 EMA is down here. Plus we have the bottom of the cloud, and we have that 618 fib retracement. So all in all, there's a lot of support here. I'm still really confident about this. I'm going to leave it open just like the rest and let it play out. I'm not going to be mad that I didn't sell for 10% profit because I think there's a lot more potential there. Now, Cody also broke out beautifully. 15% breakout, riding along the top of the cloud now. In this case, I think she's actually going to hold up. She could come lower, but it's kind of riding along the top of the cloud. I wouldn't consider this back in the cloud. It's kind of right on the top of the cloud now. If it were to go back above the cloud, I would consider this holding at the top of the cloud. It doesn't have to be that flawlessly precise all the time. But as long as she wicks down but doesn't close this candle down in the cloud, I'll be confident that she's going to keep above the cloud. If she does come down to the cloud, I'm still confident about the trade overall. It's just going to take longer to break out. If she can hold towards the top of the cloud here, she's going to, as soon as we get to the bottom of this Stoke, which is probably in like 5 hours, an hour and 11 minutes on this candle, and then one more 4-hour candle after that, so like 5 hours total. Within 5 hours, she's probably going to reverse and start pumping as long as she holds at my support zone. And then HT, also, it took a long time to start moving, and still, she's barely pushing. She's having a lot of trouble breaking out because my IchEMA dynamic resistances. Just like my IchEMA model is helpful for identifying supports, it's equally as strong at identifying resistance. So here we have the 55 and the 99, 55, 99, 55, 55, providing a ton of resistance, but the 222 EMA, my key IchEMA dynamic support, is propping us up. We also have some horizontal support here, right where we're sitting now at my entry. So I'm going to let this one ride. If she can break above the EMAs, HT token will run to 1750 in a matter of 2 candles. I think she's that bullish. But she has to break through those EMAs. As soon as she gets above the EMAs, she's wide open to run. I think she can run within a couple candles. Like within a half a day, she can blow up. So I'm going to leave this one open too. And let's see. Hopefully she holds. OGN, that was another good breakout call originally, and then she retraced back to my entry. Now, in this case, the Stoke model is not as concrete, but this is actually looking extremely bullish right here. If you missed out on getting into OGN, I don't tell people what to do with their money. You know that. I just share my own trades, and you guys make your own decisions. If you feel like you have the same risk as me, if you can take the amount of risk that I take, this is a really good entry, though. Up to you. But got a falling wedge, everything about it, sitting right at my original entry. I'm actually going to post that to the group. In a minute. And then CHZ, obviously, big breakout, 35%. Mana, it doesn't show my entry on here, but it was right here at the 55 EMA. Same thing, massive pump, doing really well on those mid to long-term holds. All right, I'll catch up on the rest of my trades later, and I will do a separate video on BNB. BTC, I'll do a separate video on Bitcoin. This was just an update for my open altcoin trades.